Okay, we call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Farmer.
Here.
Councilmember Sandu.
Here.
Yeah. Councilmember Campion.
Present.
Councilmember Lozano.
Here.
Mayor Lampson.
Here. All right, any agenda approvals, additions, or deletions? Okay. Vice Mayor Farmer would like to pull F5. Okay. And we have a presentation. Silent prayer, flag salute, forgot that, sorry. All right, everybody rise. Moment of silent prayer. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Got that. All right. Replay statement, please.
Yeah. Okay. This meeting of the Galt City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will air Friday, September 20th at 9 a.m. and Saturday, September 21st at 9 a.m. The City Council meeting videos are also archived on the city's website, and a DVD copy is available for checkout from any library branch.
Thank you, Tina. All right, so now we have a presentation by the Micro Enterprise Home Kitchen Operations, and it's the Community Development Department. Mr.
Yes,
Rice?
good evening, Mayor Lampson and fellow council members. Chris Arias, Community Development Director. Before Sac County staff start the presentation, I want to give a little brief intro. This presentation is regarding Assembly Bill 626, Micro Enterprise Home Kitchen Operations, and the bill changes rules pertaining to cottage food operations. And the changes raise concerns about food safety and land use conflicts, which the presentation will highlight. Food safety in the city of Galt is managed by the Sacramento County Environmental Management Department. They provide oversight to all restaurants and other food service providers in the county. Marie Wood with Sac County will provide this presentation about the impacts of, or the potential impacts of AB 626. There's no formal request tonight of the council other than to provide feedback. After the presentation, Sac County staff and city staff will be available to answer any questions you have. So with that, I turn it over to Marie Wood.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Lampson and council members. My name is Marie Wooden. I'm the director for Sacramento County Environmental Management Department, and I'm joined this evening with Division Chief Kelly McCoy. She's here to help me answer questions regarding this new bill. She oversees the food safety program. So again, we're here to present AB 626, Micro Enterprise Home Kitchen Operations. This is a new bill that was signed into law and adopted this January. What it does is it allows micro home enterprise kitchen operations, or we call them MICOs for short, to operate from residential homes. So before the law was passed, third-party social platforms began appearing on the internet. These platforms' purpose is to gain interest of home cooks to sign up for more information about becoming a home kitchen operation. Third-party platforms exist within the language of this newly adopted bill. Enterprise home kitchens have the option to sign up with a third-party platform to advertise their kitchen, and the third-party platform service can charge 10% fee of the micro home enterprise kitchen's food sales for their advertising services. Third-party platforms must also register with the California Department of Health Services. So if you go on their website, you can already see these third-party platforms that are registered with CDPH. For short, California Department of Health Services. A little background on what a resident a home kitchen can do now. Back in January 2013, cottage food operation law was adopted. However, residential kitchen operators are limited to the following. They can only sell non-potentially hazardous foods like jams, you might see them at a farmer's market, or breads, cookies, cakes, those type of shelf-stable type foods. A business license is required. They can make up to $50,000 maximum annual gross sales. They're allowed to have pickups and delivery of these shelf-stable foods from home. The food can be sold to retail food facilities and directly to consumers at community events and swap meets. Like you can see like the little jams and they've got the little registration label. They're inspected currently by our department, and right now there's 299 food cottage operations in Sacramento County. So what does this bill allow? This is it pretty much condensed. AB 626 establishes a micro-enterprise home kitchen operation as a new type of retail food facility operated by a resident from their private home. There is a cleanup bill right now going through the legislature. We're hoping it's going to be signed by the governor in November. It's some cleanup language to AB 626. It kind of defines clearer some of the definitions that are in 626. It also laxes the restriction. A micro enterprise kitchen could not sign up with a third-party delivery service, but they negotiated that they could if the person was disabled. So that was one of the they laxed the law. Also, San Diego City tried, and I'll go into this later, tried to get an opt-out clause in the bill, and I'll explain that in a few minutes here. So the regulations are added to the retail food code, and MECOs may not be approved or permitted until the local jurisdiction with the local enforcement agency, that's our department, authorizes it or opts into the law. So what this last statement means that since my department is the local enforcement agency, the County Board of Supervisors is the body that has the authority to adopt this law. If the Board of Supervisors adopts this regulation, then the regulation would even become law in the cities with no provision for the cities to opt out of this regulation. So San Diego fought hard on AB 377, but the author did not want to add an escape clause to it, so it stands where it is. So why did they pass this law? The Home Cooks Alliance Group and Airbnb were the two groups in support of this bill. They appealed to the legislature that by passing this bill, it would do a number of things. Economic empowerment, and you can read this on their website, specifically for unrepresented groups such as women, immigrants, and people of color. It would increase food access, healthy food, and affordable food options, particularly in food desert areas. You can also become a food entrepreneur. It would be less expensive than starting up your own brick and mortar restaurant. So let me explain more of this opt-in, opt-out option. So the Board of Supervisors has several options with this bill. They can opt in, so that meaning they can adopt a resolution and say, yes, we want MECOs countywide. They would be authorized in all incorporated and unincorporated areas, and cities would not be able to opt out. Or they cannot opt in. They can formally decline to authorize the permitting of MECOs countywide. Cities would not have the option to opt in if they say no. Or they can take no action. They can just not say there's not enough interest at this time, we're just not going to take action on it. So those are the options that the Board of Supervisors have at this time. So what are the requirements of this bill? So food preparation is limited to 30 meals per day or 60 individual meals per week. Food must be prepared and consumed on the same day. Customers may dine in, pick up, or have food delivered. So the MECO can deliver the food, but now they can do third party to a disabled person. If, the governor signs AB 377, which we think he's going to. Operations may not have more than a full-time equivalent food employee, not including a family member or household member. Operation may not exceed $50,000 in verifiable gross annual sales. No business license requirements are written into the law. Zoning ordinances cannot prohibit MECOs. Residential zones cannot be rezoned and must allow MECOs to operate if authorized by the county. Food manager certification and food handler cards are required for the employees. Also, I want to add that there is some restrictions that the MECO cannot prepare, and that is raw milk and raw oysters. However, they can obtain an ABC license to sell alcohol. And ABC has already weighed in on this and given us a document on that. So areas of concern. So what we did, EMD, because this opt-in, opt-out, we reached out to our internal departments, which were planning, zoning, code enforcement. We reached out to Metro Fire. We reached out to our sanitation district. We reached out to the health officer. And we wanted what their concerns were. Then we also had a meeting in May and reached out to the cities. Unfortunately, I think you weren't at the first meeting because something went awry. Folsom went awry with them. It just didn't roll to the right people, the invitation. We had a second meeting in July because the first meeting we explained the provisions of the bill, just like we're doing right here, and we wanted their input. We wanted to hear their concerns. And then we wanted them to go back to their council members or whoever and then tell us what is it you would like, because we're going to report back to the Board of Supervisors. So the consensus was with the county and a lot of the cities that MECOs, this is one concern, located in high-density housing, subsidized housing, and homeowners associations may have issues related to parking, access, and use of home as a business. So homes are characterized as residential, and there's commercial zones. Well, this is now crosses the line. So this is just a little excerpt of the code. It says a city, county, or city and county shall not prohibit the operation of, require a permit to operate, require a rezone of the property for, or levy any fees on, or impose any other restriction on a micro home enterprise operation in any residential dwelling for zoning purposes. Okay, and I'll let you just read the rest because I'm going to talk about it. Now, safety concerns, that's my arena, and we asked the health officers. And the other departments, they had public health concerns also, but, we weighed in, so this is what our concerns are. Contamination risk for food, equipment, and surfaces. Unlike a restaurant, family, children, and pets are not restricted from food prep areas. Family members who are ill cannot be excluded from a kitchen. Temperature control of food. Restaurants are required to use commercial refrigerators that are designed to hold large quantities of food at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Domestic refrigerators are not built to the same standards. So in this law, they don't have to have a separate refrigerator. They can have their home use refrigerator and then the public food they're selling stored in the same fridge. Sanitation. Home kitchens are not built to commercial standards for sanitation, cleanability, and vermin exclusion. So there's really strict standards with a restaurant on what type of materials they use and what they construct when they go through our plan check. They have to be cleanable surfaces, the type of materials, easy to wipe down. That's not included in a home kitchen. There are no unannounced inspections or placards. Unlike restaurants, our department, we can only conduct one annual inspection. We have to give them time. We have to announce, schedule a time. This inspection would be scheduled ahead of time, and inspectors are limited to inspecting areas that the operator says are in use. So if I suspect maybe they're using their garage for food storage, I can't go in there if they say, no, I'm definitely not storing food over there, or in the back bedroom or whatever. MECOs are exempt from color-coded placard requirements and posting for public disclosure. Potential community impacts. So we just gathered all these answers, from our meetings. Increased traffic in neighborhood and parking issues, increased noise, possible increased solid waste and garbage, increased risk of kitchen fires, that was Metro Fire, increased level of fats, oils, and greases disposed to sewer lines, water and wastewater impacts. Residential septic systems are not sized to accommodate this extra impact. Homes on private wells have no routine water testing requirements. So let's say you have a well and you decide to become a home kitchen operation, then possibly they might become a small water system. and then they fall in our jurisdiction, and there's a lot of requirements for a drinking water system. Increased use of barbecues and outdoor ovens, accessibility. Residential homes are not built to meet the American with Disabilities Act standards, and MECOs may not be able to fully accommodate customers with disabilities. Okay, so what are our next steps? We're waiting for the passage of AB 377. We think it'll be signed hopefully by November. We do have a statewide association that works on interpreting the language and achieve consistency. We're still seeking feedback from the cities. You're the last one. We've received feedback from all the cities. The present options and feedback from the cities, we're putting a report together, and we're going to send it forward to the Board of Supervisors. If the board elects to have a public meeting to go on the record, whatever stance they take, all the cities will be invited to speak at the podium. So we'll let you know if the board decides to take that direction. If the board says yes, then our department will implement this program if approved by the board, and we'll issue permits with associated fees. At this time, Siskiyou County did a formal resolution not to opt in, and Riverside County voted to opt in. Now, keep in mind that the Garcia, who is the author of this bill, he represents Riverside County. Okay, and that's the end of the presentation. So do you have any questions? And then I might ask Kelly to come up also. Go ahead, come up.
It's a lot to think about.
Yes.
Go ahead. Councilmember Campion?
Yeah, in reading through this, and obviously I don't have the bill here, but it would appear to me that, assuming the Board of Supervisors does approve it, the city would have limited or no regulatory authority over the operation of this.
Correct.
Other than if it violated the noise ordinance. I can't think of anything else, or a possible nuisance, but I don't even know how you would fully enforce a nuisance.
Yeah, a lot of the, and Kelly, you can chime in, all the planning and code enforcement people were alarmed because they're thinking, how am I going to enforce this?
You have neighbors complain and the city
Right.
can't do a thing.
Right, that's what their concerns, that's what
Yes.
we listed.
I think it's an ill-thought law.
There's also not a business license requirement, so there's
Yeah.
really no way for the city to track them either. I mean, of course,
Yes.
the city could always get a list from us, but that list is going to change all the time, but there's no tracking for the city or any revenue for the city to be able to deal with some of these nuisances.
Yeah.
Councilmember Lozano?
Yeah, I have just a question. Of the 299 home operations already in place, how do you know that they're operating? And if this were to if the board were to vote to not opt in, how would then you address those? And then my second part of that question is, of the 299, do we know how many are in the city limits of Galt or in the surrounding area of Galt?
So we didn't do a count of how many are in the city of Galt. Most are actually in the city of Sacramento and in the county. We don't have a lot in any of the other cities, but we could absolutely get that number for you and get that to Chris.
Yeah, and the existing operations do require a home occupation business license, so we can get that data as well. I don't have the number with me, but that is available.
So just to answer your first question, though, the 299 are the cottage food operation, which is a totally separate permit, and they are required right now to be permitted and inspected by our department. So even if the MECOs were approved in Sacramento County, that would not change the cottage food operation permits. Those would still exist as they are today.
So one of the things that came up was prepared and consumed on the same day. You mentioned jams and jellies. Are those prepared and consumed on the same day?
That's the cottage food bill.
Okay.
So that's what the law says, but I don't know how we're going to enforce that, because if they take away the food, I don't know if they've consumed it that day. We're not going to that level of tracking, so.
And how, if foodborne illnesses start to happen? I'm sure that's the fear of everybody.
That's a good question. That's why the health officer had a lot of concerns. How do we track that? We're going to have to go back to the residents and look at their food handling practices, ask them a lot of questions like we do now, investigation.
So one other concern we have, so if we do have somebody causing foodborne illnesses right now in a restaurant, we have the authority to go in and close that restaurant and stop that,
Right.
them from getting other people sick. But in a home, we can't close somebody's home. So we could, give them a violation notice, but we don't know that they wouldn't still keep serving.
Also, when I read the bill, just to talk about some of the restrictions that a restaurant have, it has very specific requirements on where the bathrooms are placed. You can't have a bathroom next to a kitchen or a pathway from the bathroom going through a kitchen, but in a home, it's all exempt. And I don't know, if the cat's been walking on the counter. I mean, we don't know.
Wow.
Vice Mayor Farmer?
So this actually has traction to pass. I mean, I think everybody up here now is just like shaking their head like, I read this thing on your page 4, it talks about specifically, like one of the reasons it passed was to specifically for underrepresented groups such as women, immigrants, and people of color. I don't understand how any such bill would be specifically targeted to help people of color. I mean, it just sounds discriminatory just to say that, oh, this bill is going to help people of color. I mean, what does that even mean? That's just silly. And second of all, the increased access to healthy and affordable foods, well, clearly it's not going to create more access to healthy food. I think it's going to create more access to unhealthy food. And the third thing, a less expensive pathway for a food startup. I believe that one because, I mean, my family owns a business. That's what I do. And I would love to be able to have a scheduled health visit, where we know they're going to come. But that's the thing. You have to make sure you are minding your P's and Q's because it's random and it's very strict. I mean, people start restaurants. I mean, you have to have FRPs. I mean, there's all these things. It's very, very rigid. To me, this creates a double standard. I mean, it's pretty much going to make it keep the hardships on the businesses that are operating like now, like myself, and then just let everybody else just, loosely do whatever. So if the Board of Supervisors passes this, we have no option as a city. So our best bet is to lobby the supervisors to take no action.
Yeah, some of the cities, what they did is they wrote a formal letter and they sent it to all the Board of Supervisors as well as copied us. Because like I said, we're compiling all this information. We're going to be sending it to the board members in a report. All our findings, all the concerns, these are all from the different cities, the different planning groups, building department, POP officers, code enforcement. Everything we wrote down is from their questions and answers to us and their concerns.
Following up on what you said, Sean, I think what might even be better is if, assuming the council agrees, is that we ask staff to prepare a resolution of opposition and have it signed by all council members to go to the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah.
That would be my suggestion.
Is it? I mean, there was mention of it, but I was taking notes, so I apologize if you said it. But, I mean, is there actually an option for us as council members to go to the county supervisor?
Sure, it's a public hearing, public meeting.
Do that?
Yeah.
I think that would be smart if any of us could make it. It would add that extra on top of a letter, like you mentioned.
A resolution. I would do a resolution.
Yeah.
Just to put it kind of in perspective, I see on social media, help my daughter pay for her cheerleading, $2,000 this year, please buy some cupcakes, or I'm selling tamales to help pay for football. Is that where you think this originated from?
No, it originated, it was called Josephine and Company, and they operated in the Bay Area, Alameda County. And this is what, Kelly, back me up here, because this is what happened several years ago. And the Alameda District Attorney shut them down. They had a third-party platform, and they were advertising these home cooks through their social media platform. So I could go to a certain operator's house on Tuesday, and they would be having an event. And then they would help them get food handler cards, And they challenged the health department over there. I think it was Alameda County, correct? The Alameda District Attorney shut them down. So that group was shut down. But then several years later, this bill started going, this Cooks Alliance group came up, and Airbnb joined them also. They were also part of this advocating to have it. And it went through the legislature. I think it's called HOAC, which is the Health Officer type of association. They were against it, but they weren't heard in the legislature, or they just discounted their opposition to the bill.
So does this affect what I mentioned at all then? The cupcakes and the
The cupcakes.
fundraising and all that, the private?
Yeah, we did have I'm going to let you go to that one.
So, yeah, I think there is a lot of that kind of food activity going on. Is it legal? Most of it is not. The cupcake person could actually get a cottage food operation permit. The person doing tamales, if this were to pass, 626 were to pass, they could get a legal permit doing tamales. So the person doing tamales now, unless he or she's making them in a restaurant and selling them from the restaurant, is doing it illegally.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Same thing, my biggest concern about the safety. I know that bill passed because I believe they're thinking affordable food. Everybody should be, getting affordable food. But according to this is no safety. And there is no inspection. And we all know there is a lot of difference between random inspection and scheduled inspection. The scheduled inspection, most likely the business or whoever, especially running at home, they prepare. So they also is with the house, like in same thing, apartment, hometowns, how you can run that business on that. There can be a lot of traffic, there can be a lot of things. So that's my big concern about the safety too.
Yeah, I'm not even a big fan of the, what do you call it, where the food trucks have to have, what's the word for that? A place where they prepare their food?
Commissary.
Commissary. I'm not even a big fan of that whole program. It seems just so loosely handled. And so I think this is just a business killer for me, for brick and mortars, people that have to go out and brunt all the expenses of doing business in the way it's supposed to be conducted for the safety of the community, food-wise, and all that. And this just undermines all that completely. So, I strongly oppose this, and I would even be willing to go and speak at the supervisors' meeting if anybody would accompany me. Would definitely do that.
I think we have a consensus.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Mayor Lamson, my suggestion would be that as staff, I think we understand the direction of the council is that there's clear opposition to these micro-enterprise home kitchens. We are still waiting to see what happens with AB 377, which is supposed to be the cleanup legislation. It's sitting on the governor's desk. It made it there last week. So I would suggest that we work with the county, watch that bill, what's happening, and when it's going to the Board of Supervisors, and we'll obviously return to the council on a timely basis to address what the appropriate response would be based on your comments this evening.
I would recommend that we make a motion now, have staff prepare a resolution in opposition, identifying the food safety and community impacts, have that ready to go, and include, if the subsequent bill is approved, address the issues associated with that as well. I would make that in form of a motion.
I don't think we need a motion since we don't have it on the agenda for the reso, but we can bring it back at the next meeting with the resolution.
Okay. One last question. Who was the representative that drafted this from Riverside, you said?
Garcia.
Garcia, is he Democrat, I'm assuming?
I don't know. He represents Riverside County.
I'm just asking.
That's all I know. No, I don't know his political.
Independent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have
Councilmember Lozano.
I have one other question. On page 6, it says there's 3 options for the county Board of Supervisors. One's to opt in, second is not opt in, and others no action taken.
Correct.
If there's no action taken, there's an opportunity to opt in the future?
Correct.
Okay.
Or
so-
formally opt out. They could say, well, we don't have an, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for them, but I'll just speak for some of the counties around us, because I inquired with my counterparts, hey, what are you guys doing over in your jurisdiction? So a lot of the, let's say El Dorado County, I know at this time they're choosing not to do anything because they don't have enough interest So whatever outreach they did, they felt like they don't have enough interest, so they're just not acting on it at this time.
Would we be able to legally, let's say that the supervisors take no action, so there's nothing, would we be able to then get in front of this and pass something in our municipal code that could then not be overridden later, or could it be overridden no matter what?
Well, it could be overridden no matter what based on what the county does. But I think right now, a lot of counties, and my understanding is the same, are taking no action for the very reason that everybody's trying to figure out what is happening. And while there's no action taken by the county, they're not allowed in the city either. Because the county is the licensing entity, oversees the health and safety pieces of this.
I suspect that there's going to be a lot of folks in the city of Sacramento that are going to want this, and I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the supervisors from, and I just say the city of Sacramento because there are quite a few people operating cottage food operations there. So I believe there's going to be a lot of pressure, probably at the supervisor level from the city. And so I think whatever we can do as soon as we can do it, I think it'd be important to make that stance at least. And in between now and the time it comes back for a resolution, we can, talk to our constituents and see what interest there is and just offer that up to see where that's at.
When we were updating the board members about this, they were very, very interested in hearing from the cities that they represent. So that would be good to reach out to them or send them letters or meet with them or whatever. So they're very, very interested in representing the city.
And this is more a question for the council, would the council be interested in having the Board of Supervisors actually opt out rather than take no action? I would rather see an opt-out.
I would as well.
Rather than no action.
So would you like that included in the resolution?
Yes, I think it should be.
I think it would be a good idea also to maybe the Chamber of Commerce in Galt, and also could reach out to maybe other chambers in other cities that we have, good rapport with, and have them send in things as well. I think a strong voice from the existing businesses would be helpful. So just something to throw out there to the chamber.
Good idea. Thank you, ladies. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And bringing us all the information.
Thank you for inviting us.
All right, public comment?
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the city council on non-agenda items. The public comment section is for the city council to receive comments. Except for brief responses to questions, no discussion or action may be taken on any item that is not listed on the agenda. Please limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Speaker cards are located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers. Once completed, forward the speaker card to the clerk. Those persons wishing to speak on any item scheduled on the agenda will be given an opportunity to do so at the time the item is being considered.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
I have not received any.
Okay. Reports by city council members on regional boards, commissions, and committees. Vice Mayor Farmer?
Nothing.
Not yet. Councilmember Sandu?
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Campion?
Nothing.
Councilmember Lozano?
Yeah, just real briefly, met with the Sacramento Transportation Authority, and on last Thursday, we're talking about different options for a potential tax measure in the future, more like 2020, regarding transportation. It's a Measure A remake, and so the Sacramento Transportation Authority has hired a consultant to look at messaging, campaigning, all those kinds of things. And so they're coming back to the full board with an expenditure plan and things like that. I know they've done a lot of work with our local public works in regards to what our unmet transportation needs are and things like that, to kind of have an idea. But at any rate, I'm sure at some point I'll be coming back to kind of get the temperature of the rest of the council on where we're going to stand on that. So the other piece is with the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. We met, the Policy and Innovation Committee met on last Monday, a week ago yesterday, and spoke about regional housing, RENA.
Regional housing needs allocation.
Needs allocation, and we're getting our numbers in, and so I'm going to meet with staff about what that looks like for us, and and how we're going to move forward with that. So this Thursday, the full SACOG board meets, and there'll be some discussion around that. There's also some discussion around the federal President's administration federally is looking at an issue where they're going to roll back some of the standards in which a previous administration put into place related to clean air as it relates to vehicles. And that may affect, if that in fact happens, it may affect how our regional 10-year look at transportation plan is going to be able to be rolled out. So more to come on that on Thursday, and I'll report back on what that looks like. So that's it.
Thank you. I'll have a meeting with the Air Quality Board next week, and I bet you anything, we'll be talking about that. Okay, so consent calendar. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes as submitted, receive and file warrants for the period ending September 5th, 2019, adopt a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Works to execute and submit periodic grant documents on behalf of the City of Galt for all State of California Department of Parks and Recreation Office of Grants and Local Services for Walker Community Park, for which the city is eligible, approve the use of the city's equipment for the Galt Arno Cemetery District's annual Dia de los Muertos event, and authorize the city manager to approve future requests for this annual event, and accept the treasurer's report as submitted. Can I get a motion? Moved by Councilmember Campion. Second, please.
I'll do second.
Seconded by Councilmember Sandu. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Farmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Sandu.
Aye.
Councilmember Campion.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. And pulled from the consent was item 5, the Sacramento Municipal Utility District Lease Agreement, and I believe that's with Smud Park. Is that,
Yeah.
what questions do you have?
I just had a couple questions. I know we talked about this last meeting or the meeting before, but so what is the term on that? I mean, it's an addendum, so it's not, we're just amending the lease that's currently in place or not?
If you read the existing lease, I think it basically had a term, but then went month to month, if everybody, I don't know if the city attorney would like to.
I believe it's an annual, it started out as a 5-year term, and then it's an annual renewal thereafter, and it has been since 1958, I believe.
Basically just says that we take care of the.
Yeah. And the intent of that is that we basically used it as a park, especially when it was all turf. We did see people use it, so there was a benefit to the city in that regard.
So then I saw the improvements here. So this is why I actually pulled it, because it just caught my eye. So they're going to replant when they're done doing their, they're going to droughtscape to make it more drought tolerant and all that.
Right.
I see all that. But talking about replanting 3 crepe myrtles because of ones that were removed, and then 7 additional trees to be determined. I know they took out coastal redwoods. They're probably wanting not to put something like that back in because those were problematic. But what I'm wondering is, if they haven't determined the trees to be put in yet, why not consider not doing the crepe myrtles? Because we have a big problem with those around town already. There's a lot of issues with crepe myrtles. And so, is that something we could talk to them about?
Sure. As long as they haven't planted it yet, that.
Oh, they're still tearing it up.
Purchased, yeah, they're not ready for landscaping yet. That'll be the last thing to come. They've got to go through all their site improvements and do that substation upgrade. So to answer your question, yes, there is time. And I do know that, we've struggled with the crepe myrtles, but they do require treatment. And I know in the city it's hurting for maintenance. When you do treat them, it is a beautiful tree. So I would hate to stop using them just because of current issues.
Yeah, no, I know.
Certain
I
locations.
have some myself. They are, but if they're, like I said, it's just, if you treat them where other trees probably don't need to have to be treatment, they're just a messy tree when you don't treat them. They're sticky sap,
Yes,
and I don't know.
the
So
aphids get them.
if
The
it
aphids
hasn't been
is not
determined yet, why not?
That's something we can certainly.
Yeah. So I think that's really all.
And I think you'd get concurrence with Armando Solis on that.
Yeah. So, but the crepe myrtles, they don't have the big root systems, right? So there's
Right.
not a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's basically a patio tree. It's not considered a street tree. It's more ornamental.
But they are the tree that produces the least amount of oxygen. Just remember that.
But they're not, they're not a good shade tree, really, though.
No.
So, there's lots of trees out there that don't have an intrusive root system that also can grow quickly, have good shade. And so anyways, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right.
Mayor Lamson, if there's interest in adopting the addendum to the lease, but there's interest in addressing the trees, then I would just suggest the motion be that they approve the resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the addendum with the modification regarding the types of replanting of the trees, and that staff work with them, because it does specify the 3 crepe myrtles as one of the replacement trees. So that'd be the only.
Okay. So let's get a motion to approve it with modifications of the trees.
I'll make a motion to approve it with modifications to the trees for 10 trees to be determined instead of 3 and 7.
Perfect. Second?
Second.
Made by Vice Mayor Farmer, seconded by Councilmember Lozano. Ready? Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Sandu,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. All right, any scheduled matters?
Yep.
Regular calendar, City Attorney's Office, subject Office of the Elected City Clerk vacancy. Ms. Hood.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening is an item on the Office of the Elected City Clerk. We have a vacancy now that Ms. Settles has submitted her resignation from that position. She was elected to the position in 2016, so there's just over 1 year left remaining on the term, and under state law, you have the discretion as the council for an elected position to fill that by an appointment or special election. I think I can address the special election piece more quickly because to set a special election, you work through the county elections office to set that. They're very expensive. In the staff report, I noted that the cost would be, as of the last vacancy we had, was estimated by the county elections office at $117,000 to $234,500. I did check with them again, and there are more voters in the city of Galt now, and they increased that estimate to $127,000 to $255,000. So for, I think, the term remaining, I think Mr. Haglund would want me to suggest that maybe that would be a very expensive option to pursue for such a limited time, and you could not set a special election until April, which would only leave several months for an election. As to the appointment option, the state law doesn't set any specific procedures for how you fill the appointment. You can do a direct appointment. You can solicit for applications. So it's really at the council's discretion how they want to do that. For an elected city clerk, the requirements or to fulfill the position are very minor. You have to be over 18 years old, a Galt resident, registered voter in the city of Galt, and not have been convicted of any certain disqualifying crimes like embezzlement. So those are your standards. As far as like a direct appointment, we could come back. You obviously can appoint within. Ms. Hubert is qualified to fill the position and has been serving as a backup city clerk sitting here this evening. So that is also an option. So we're looking for some direction this evening from the council on what steps you would like to take, whether it is appointment or special election. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't feel it's fiscally responsible of this council to hold a special election at this time. Ms. Hubert has been filling in and is qualified. And just to make it clear, this is not the clerk administrator. This is the elected position that serves with council, and there can be a $300 stipend, I believe. So it's not a huge financial position.
And to clarify, it is just to fulfill the position until the appointment ends. Until the term ends in November 2020.
Right.
Question. These are the minimum qualifications as set forth in state law. Mm-hmm. Can the city of Galt establish its own minimum qualifications in addition to?
Yes.
So we could say you have to have the CMC certification as a minimum qualification and so many years experience?
Well, you can. The difficulty with doing that at this point would be that we only have 60 days under the state law to fill the appointment. So it's certainly, those would be qualifications you would seek out in filling in the appointment.
Right.
And so I would say not necessarily as mandatory, but qualifications you would like to see in your candidates for an appointment.
Okay.
Maybe before the next election, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's what I was thinking beyond this appointment, but yeah.
Okay.
So what Kurt's referring to is to reword the qualifications prior to the 2020 election to add qualifications in there.
Well, I think it only makes sense.
Yeah. You're saying that the short amount of time right now would be more like if we were to, and this is obviously if we were to solicit applications, say that was something, we could just not make it official, we're looking for that, but we could require, like each one of us could say we're looking for someone of a certain edge,
That would certainly be a factor you would take into account. And I would need to double check that we can, as far as a permanent change to the position, if it's an elected city clerk, I'm not sure you could make it a mandatory. I apologize, I thought you were talking about for the appointment process.
Oh, I see. No, I was talking about for the position.
I believe those requirements are set forth in the state law, just
That's
like
it.
the council member, yes.
No, Kurt, I believe that elected position is, you cannot change the qualification.
I agree.
Right.
with
And
that.
then only way, remember last time the council wants to we change the elected position to the appointed position, it's up to the council. We want to bring the next year in, because the last election we lose that. So
Yeah.
that,
It'd be interesting to see what happens.
So just to clarify for the public that are watching too, and for us, because obviously this position has been held by the same person, which is really kind of a weird thing for so long. Should that happen, that we have two until the 2020 election, let's just talk about that term. What exactly would that person be doing? Just the minutes of the meeting? I mean, they're not going to be doing the clerk
their job
administrator duties. I mean, yeah, what's the specific of the appointed person?
Well, the elected city clerk usually, obviously attends the meetings, takes the minutes, so I'm looking at.
But there's been some blurring of duties, though, over the years because of Donna doing both, you know what I'm saying? So,
Right. Back in 2012, actually, the previous city attorney, Steve Rudolph, brought this back to city council because of the overlay. It still is the same. It just clarified it in the agenda report. So the elected city clerk attends the meetings, does the minutes, keeps the lists of resolutions and ordinances, does a few other minor things, but those same jobs are also part of the elected or of the clerk administrator position.
So there's duplication?
Yes, there is. Did I make that crystal clear?
Well, and I think it varies obviously with the ability in each city. When elected city clerks are rarer and rarer for this reason, because it's a difficult position to fill if it's a part-time position. If it's somebody that is filling the position as an elected official, they're not getting obviously the same. They're getting the $300 payment, and that's a lot of duties that need to be taken care of with the minutes and attending the meetings and resolutions and ordinances, Public Records Act requests, things like that entail a lot of duties. So some cities will have an elected city clerk, and then you have a clerk administrator or a deputy city clerk. So the duties are sort of set out as the council determines for those positions.
And this one's required to live in the city limits, but the administrator is not. Is
Correct.
that true? Okay.
The only thing that Steve Rudolph changed back in 2012 is he specifically took the duties of the election official and gave it to the clerk administrator. The city council approved that because of the knowledge required to be the election official.
What do you think, Rich?
Well, I certainly think we don't need to do a special election with that cost. That's one piece. The other piece is I know there has been some duplication between the city clerk and clerk administrator, but I would certainly want to keep it open, at least whatever our decision is now, keep it open to really look at the clerk administrator position moving forward to see what efficiencies we can then roll into that. Because I think this is larger than just the two positions. I think it has budget impacts. There's many things here. So my feeling is and it's nice that we have somebody internal that has already kind of been helping out along the way. But my feeling is that we should appoint somebody within the 60 days. But I believe we should open it up to the public to see who might have interest in it, and then make our appointment based on that. And I don't know if that's an interview process or how we appoint committee members, but I certainly think that the public should have an opportunity to weigh in should anybody be interested in doing it. I know this is a position that is kind of hard to fill sometimes in some jurisdictions, And so, but I still think that that's what we need to do.
How would that work, Kimberly?
To interview the applicants, or?
Will we post, or?
So there's,
I didn't necessarily say interview the applicants. What I said was put out a
solicit.
solicit for folks that might be interested in filling an elected position.
So when we had the vacancy on the council 2 years ago, the city clerk's office issued
We had an application.
put in applications so that people submitted applications for a certain time period. We kept it open for, I think it was just over a week. And so I think you'd want to, because of the 60-day timeline, you'd want to have it closed so that you could bring the applications back by the October 15th meeting to review those applications. The council could either appoint a subcommittee. That's with the amount of time that's difficult to do. For the council vacancy 2 years ago, we solicited applications, they were reviewed. The applicants came to the council meeting and spoke at the council meeting, and then we sort of did a selection process at that meeting.
I would probably be in favor of that as well. I don't doubt that Ms. Hubert is very competent to do that position. But in the spirit of that it is an elected position, I do like exercising the consistency like we did with the council, where we do allow so-called public input by opening the process up, and we may get no one apply, and we may decide to just have Tina do that. But I think by doing that and doing it in the same manner where we just have applicants come and speak, we listen to what they have to say, and then we as a council decide, I think that still lets kind of the democratic process have a little, more impact on that decision instead of us just saying this person. So for that reason, I would probably be more in favor of just opening it up and just seeing what we get before we decide for sure, just for that reason alone.
I concur with that. What timeline can we put for deadline for those applications?
So I'd suggested in the staff report that we open it up from September 18th through October 4th. So that would give sufficient time to then get the applications together and into the packet for the October 15th meeting.
I have mixed feelings. I mean, I understand what you're saying, making it available to the public. However, my concern is, maintaining some level of consistency in the position, to the extent that obviously Tina has done the job, is doing the job, and I almost see it, unless there's somebody out there who is CMC qualified with experience, it's kind of I don't want to say misleading, but unless you are extremely qualified and have nothing else to do, and this would be your job, I see the pool being number one, very narrow, and the pool would have to have someone extremely competent and qualified. I see that as relatively remote. I would be more in favor of an appointment.
And I believe over the last 20 years, I believe the position has ran without opposition. About 20 years?
Probably longer than that.
Longer than that? Tough decision here. Does anyone know if Ms. Hubert would be available or willing to do that? Did anybody bother to ask her? Because I forgot, sorry.
Yes, I'm available.
Okay.
I'm certainly agree with there should be no election. There's a lot of money involved. And Tina, she's, doing the excellent job. But I still, I'm talking about even after that, I believe we're going to end up to elected her. But that's where if we open the application, we give the opportunity to the other people too. And I know she can most likely, I'm not going to say her, but she can be most likely is best qualified. But that's where because this is an elected position. And that's where we give everybody opportunity, if everybody agree that. So then we can get the opportunity to all the other applicants.
I would be happy with either way, but it looks like we have at least a three consent on posting it, so.
request then a motion to opt for the appointment and then to direct staff to solicit applications.
All right. Can I get a motion to opt for the appointment and?
Could we do that in the form of 2 motions?
Sure. Go, you want to make one?
I'll make a motion that we, the first motion would be to appoint the position.
Second.
I would like to make a motion to,
Do we have to vote for that, though?
oh, we vote for one
Yeah.
first?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
Roll call vote. Wait, is all right? Go
you
ahead.
can have up to 3 motions on the floor.
We can. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, so I thought.
They were like, vote.
I would like to make a motion to forego special election and do a solicited application process for appointment.
Is that okay? Or is that?
Does his motion go first?
Yes, the last motion goes first.
I'd like to make a motion to forego the election and solicit applications, period.
Second. Your motion is?
Excuse me.
That sounded the same.
No,
Yeah, I was like,
to
didn't that
position, to appoint the position only.
Okay.
To appoint.
Can I get a second for that? Wait, I didn't get a second for that one, though, did I?
Point of clarification, to appoint simply means that we would appoint. The second part of that motion would be the advertising is what I think you're asking for. That's why I wanted to break the
I'm
motion.
confused now.
Well, I'm in favor of appointing the person.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm not in favor of going out and soliciting.
Right,
So that's why I
understand.
wanted to break the motion.
He wants to appoint tonight.
No, not
Perhaps
tonight.
I would call that a direct appointment.
Okay,
Yeah.
direct appointment then. Well, no, I don't want to make it a direct.
Well,
appointment.
we would return with the appointment, but
Right.
that's what you're saying is that your suggestion would be to forego the special election and return with a direct appointment of,
No, just with an appointment, foregoing the discussion regarding
okay,
solicitation.
okay.
So it's just to make the appointment, then a second motion could be made. Sean, you can make the motion to make it advertised and so forth.
okay, so you're clarifying your first motion, so we're still in the first motion now.
No, Kurt was
Right.
on the
Last
third.
motion, third motion.
Kurt's on the third. The first was to forego the election, so you don't have to say that in your
So
motion.
just to clarify, the first and the third motion are actually the same one?
No.
Or worded the same?
Yes,
They are?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you stinker. I
Okay.
thought
He
the
did it,
first
he
one
did it a
was
third time so that we
without
could vote on
the
his first, that's why I did it, so I get that, yeah.
election. You make another motion? Oh, we can only have 3 on the floor.
No. we don't need to- So, but we have to backtrack and we have to see if
Have to
there's a
get a
second on mine before he makes the third, but he jumped in and did the third, so what do we do now?
Yes, so
She's earning her money tonight.
So we do need a second on Vice Mayor Farmer's motion, and then you can make a substitute motion to then do a different motion
Okay.
on Vice Mayor Farmer's. So is there a second for Vice Mayor Farmer's motion? If he'd like to, he may want to restate it.
Second.
Lozano?
Then I would like to make a substitute motion, which would be simply to forego the election and make the position appointed.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
So now you vote on that motion.
Okay. Roll call vote. Can you read the Kurt's motion, please?
Hold on one second. I need clarification real quick. So the substitute motion is to not have an election, however, to directly appoint someone.
No, did not say directly appoint, just said appoint.
He doesn't want to
Well,
solicit
we-
applications.
So
The first motion, we're going to vote
how
on
we
it.
can appoint if we don't get the application? So that,
Okay.
It's not that hard.
so can we make a,
You can just, you're going to vote on it.
I would like to make a motion.
We can't, there's 3 on the floor.
We have 3 on the floor.
Oh,
But you can also vote no to that.
I think Rich just wants to clarify the motions, each one, which
Can we
one.
have Tina read the motion, please?
So we're doing the first motion first, or the?
Last motion.
Last motion.
Last motion.
So it's to forego the election and to appoint the position.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So that has no.
Without seeking applications.
The confusion is, and I'm confused with that,
So
the
that's
confusion
why-
is there's no specifically whether we're soliciting applications or we're not. He's just simply making a motion that we're not going to do an election,
Right.
right? Okay.
And it would be an appointment, and now someone can make a subsequent motion on how we go about making
Which you
that
did. Okay.
Right.
Okay, are we ready? Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Sandu,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Now can you read Vice Mayor Farmer's motion?
To forego the election,
Which we don't need in it, but we already voted on that, but yeah.
solicit applications, and make the appointment.
I will do second.
That was seconded by Councilmember Lozano already.
You already did.
Okay. So roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Sandu,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion,
Oh,
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Motion passes 4-1. Thank you very much. All right. I believe I'm on the Public Works Department, authorization to purchase a backup motor for the city's water production wells. Mr. Selling?
Good evening, Mayor Lamson and council members. Basically, the item before you is to purchase a backup motor. The city has two deep wells, which basically provide virtually all of the water for the city. They're Golden Heights well and the industrial well. And essentially what happened, they were set up to be identical, so they use the same motor. And back in 2016, when we had the industrial water treatment, the well project back then, part of that project included buying a backup motor. So fast forward from then until earlier this year in February, the Golden Heights motor failed. And so because we had that backup motor, we were able to put it back in and get the well back up to full operational capacity. So we basically now need to replace that motor. Staff basically since between February and now was investigating whether or not that failed motor could be rebuilt. I think we went through a couple of different vendors trying to determine if it could, and basically both vendors indicated that no, it could not be rebuilt. These motors are not just sitting on a shelf somewhere. They basically take about 3 months plus or minus to basically manufacture and ship out. So rather than, essentially if one of these motors were to fail again and the city basically, having a delay of about 3 months, we do have our other smaller wells that we can use. The problem with those wells is they have varying levels of arsenic in them. The state standard, and I might look to Mr. Clarkson to confirm this, but my understanding is I think the state standard is around 10 parts per billion. Is where the threshold is. And some of those wells are, they're all single digits, ranging from maybe 2, 3 to 7 or so parts per billion. But we would essentially want to make sure that we're treating the water to remove the arsenic. The problem with that is then the treated or the treated water gets used, but then the arsenic goes through the treatment plant system, and that could violate our waste discharge requirements, or wastewater discharge requirements on the treatment plant. So anyway, the best option from staff's recommendation is to purchase a new backup motor.
And this is from the 05 Water Fund, and
Correct.
you have the money in the budget?
Yes.
Wonderful. Any more discussion on that?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple questions. So I acquainted with the water supervisor, Jose, so he kind of briefed me on this, and this is coming. So you've always had a backup motor on hand, and we used that last one when we did approved the Golden Heights. So just to throw it out there, just because I understand that we had the backup wells have the arsenic level, which I actually thought was above what was, but I could be wrong. Anyways, it says, we can't use those unless it's an emergency. So 2 questions I just had real quick is, one, are we doing anything to remedy that? Because it seems that it's kind of pointless to have backup wells if we never ever want to use them because they're not, if we're going to have backup motors in place, which is a good thing, it seems like, what's the purpose of even having those backup wells? It seems like we should be working on something to either have those wells where they can be used.
Yeah, my understanding is that, so wells basically screen different layers down, within the substrate and where they're pulling the water from, and different layers have different, I don't want to say, I guess contaminants in them, such as arsenic and things like that. So without actually going in and revamping those other wells at a significant cost, it's probably cheaper for, just keeping them as backup. It's just more cost effective to do that and then treat whatever little water that we do need from them, or to use them for non-potable needs kind of thing.
So it seems like the only time we would really ever use those wells would be if for some reason the city was to exceed the available water output of the two main wells for whatever reason that happened, or
Correct, or a failure,
or if one of the main wells went down and we used a backup motor, and then that one of those went down in that 3-month period before we could get another backup motor. That really seems like the only window of time that we would ever use those wells then, right?
I would agree generally. I don't, Mr. Clarkson, any other thoughts on that, or?
Mark Clarkson, city engineer. Hi, Mayor, council members. I wouldn't categorize them as backup wells. These are primary wells that are needed, that are to be used when supplies are in demand. They can be used in accordance with the Department of Health Services for drinking water purposes. We have complete filtration on them. It's just that if we don't have some of these deep wells online when they're being used, then we get this concentration in the sewage of arsenic. So we always try to keep one deep well online to alleviate that compounded arsenic coming. So to characterize them as backup well is not correct.
Right, because they do provide, the majority of our water is provided by the industrial and the Golden Heights, and but there is a portion that's still provided, right?
Correct. And we have used the Carillion well and the Monterey Bay well. These are non-deep wells. This summer we have used them. We needed to because of the demands that we have, but we're still able to keep under our arsenic requirements for the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, just for the public knowledge about how this stuff works. And if we've always kept a motor on backup, I don't see why that would be something that we should.
Right.
Spare tire.
Yeah. And I think the other, scenario is if the city grew, obviously, too, so that we would use these other wells, too, up to a point where we may need to add an additional well for additional demand.
So it actually takes it could take up to 3 months to like in a scenario where.
Yeah, that's our understanding, yeah.
That's the only questions I had. Thanks.
Sure.
Councilmember Sandu, did you have something?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
All right. Can I get a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with the Industrial Electrical Company for the amount of $38,133.32 for the purchase of a backup motor for the city's water production wells?
So moved.
Second.
Made by Councilmember Lozano, seconded by Councilmember Campion. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Sandu,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, 2019 Street and Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project Additional Contingency. Mr. Selling?
Yes, thank you again, Mayor and council members. The item before you here is basically back in July, earlier this year, a couple of months ago, the council approved the 2019 Street and Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project. And so we've basically, our contractor's been working out there, and they're on the last segment on Lake Canyon, and they've hit a couple of soft spots and basically grinding off the asphalt to then pave it back. And there's a couple of things that we do before that. Is we do a pavement repair in areas where there's basically like a deflection in the pavement, can be a rut or it can be just exceptionally cracked areas kind of thing. So we'll do a pavement repair, what we call a dig out in those areas. Basically they just grind down about 6 inches or so and then pave it back with what we call full depth asphalt instead of just putting rock and then the top couple inches of asphalt. So in these areas on Lake Canyon, basically they hit some soft soils, clay and whatnot, and in order to repair that, they first will try to dig down even further, and it's still, the soils were unworkable kind of thing, equipment sinking, that kind of thing. So and then we always have contingencies on projects. However, we asked the contractor for a quote to do the additional work. What they proposed to do was put in kind of a geogrid mat type system. Basically, it's a system to bridge areas like this where it's soft. So then you can then pave over the top of it. It's kind of a plastic grid material. And they came back with a quote, I think it was around $164,000 or so. We had about $100,000 in contingency, almost all of which was available, but obviously the 164 was more. So we needed to come back to council to get additional appropriation authority to be able to repair these areas. In the meantime, we've been talking with the contractor, trying to see if there's a cheaper option, and it looks like the option that we're going to go with is to do what we call cement-treated base. So basically what they do is they just take cement powder, if you will, not concrete, but cement powder, and giant rototiller, just kind of work it into the soil, and then you can compact it. It basically, the cement hardens, solidifies the soil, and then you can compact it and pave over it. So we're looking to save probably, we hope, around $10,000 over the price of the GeoGrid option. So we're asking for $100,000, which is more than what the total would be, even with the GeoGrid, but just so we have some additional cushion in case some other change order issue may come up, kind of thing. But we're pretty close to being done with the project, so we would expect minimal, if any, other additional change orders. So.
How do you think the cement will affect it in future repairs? Will it harden up and make it harder to dig up if they have to fix it 20 years from now?
Yes.
It will?
Yes.
But will it last longer than the GeoGrid, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's enough, the GeoGrid's been around, to my knowledge, has been around for about 10 years or so. So I don't know that you can really say how long that would last at this time.
So Mike, on this one, my just a clarification, because we have a contract with the company, right?
Correct.
And there's a lot of things is covered when they writing a contract. They know there is something maybe comes up in cover that contract. This soft spot, it comes up as a unforensic kind of thing. I know they can make a change order, but if they have a contract with us and that contract, that cost does not cover.
So when the contractors bid the work, basically we specify the items and the quantities of those items, and so they will basically put in their unit cost, okay? So when we bid this work, we said we anticipate this much in terms of dig-outs, area of dig-outs, and so then what's the material, the asphalt that you basically fill those dig-outs with. So we spec that out. But we did not know that there were these soft spots underneath there until they opened it up. So it's always a bit of an unknown. Even though you take samples through a geotechnical firm, if you miss, just the spot where it's soft, like in this case, kind of thing, the information that we had no indication that there was such. Like I said, there was no real deflection or anything in the pavement surface, other than I think these areas were more cracked than they were deflected. So it was unforeseen. And so when that happens, when an unforeseen thing that's beyond what we, basically spec'd out, then we meet with them and we come to terms, whether it's like on a time and material basis or we get an estimate on what the quantities are and the work that needs to be done. We agree on that and we move forward. The only reason that we're here tonight is because the cost was higher than what we had appropriation authority to spend. So.
And the other question is, I think the change of order is, I believe that 8,000 square foot, right? On the change order. If you look at that from
8,000 square feet.
Yeah.
8,000 square feet.
And what's that mean is $20.60.
So that's the unit cost per square foot because the item is in square feet. So that $20 is basically what their total cost would be per square foot to do the work.
Okay, so that sheet is there submitted for the change order.
Correct.
And I believe the department you work with the change order make a good judgment call, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Paul. Vice Mayor Farmer?
So, all right, so we have 99,000 left in contingency. You're asking for 100, which would give us 200,000.
Correct.
The bid for the GeoGrid is 164,000.
Correct.
Although you've looked at alternative options, which I'm glad you have, because I was going to ask about why are we asking for whatever. So basically, we're looking at about $10,000 savings, so we're looking at 154,000. So that would leave a $45,000 contingency still left in place, right?
Correct.
All right, so my thing is, I know this is coming from, most of this funds from grant, right? We got SB1, Measure A, all this,
Yes.
right? Well, Measure A is not, but solid waste host fee, is that our solid, that's?
Yeah, there's a portion that we get. Basically, that was the portion for industrial.
So just big picture thing here, because I had some citizens email me, and so I wanted to throw this out there, but this, and troubles me a little bit too, is this is why always going after grant money whenever it's available sometimes can backfire, because there's always going to be these things come up that our grant money doesn't cover, and then we're having to dip into funds that we have, and not like we're dipping into general fund money that we're in trouble with right now. And even if we do have the available funds in here, it still is a prime example of us having to always put in our own money. It seems like it's always what happens when we go after grant money and get it never covers. So I just moving forward, I like to always be conscious of that just because we have free money out there for things and we want to get money to redo a street or whatever, that we always got to be conscious that it's going to cost us from somewhere else in one of our pockets to do that. So just want to throw that out there. So for me, you mentioned that you found a more economical option. You're confident that option will work.
Right.
You also said that you're asking for the 200 or the 100 to make it 200 because you like to have extra contingency. But you just said we're at the tail end of the project. You don't foresee any additional. So although we can afford the 200, I don't see any reason why. I mean, if my daughter came and said she wants to buy a car, and can you give me $2,000, Dad? But I'm really going to look for a $1,500 car. Then I would just give her the $1,500. I wouldn't give her the $2,000. It's just my thought process. So even though maybe the fund can afford it, I don't want to get in the habitual habit of just giving extra money. So that's just my feeling on it. I would feel more comfortable approving closer to the amount than just the full extra 100.
So let me explain how that works. So basically on the contingency, that is our, the pot of money basically for unforeseen things. So right now, we are close to the end, as I said, kind of thing. But there are a few other bills, I guess, to be paid. Typically, the other thing that comes out of it is we typically split the flagging costs 50-50 is the way the specs typically work with the contractors. So a portion of that will pay for that. So, but we aren't going to spend that whole $45,000 or so. I mean, it's just in case something else comes up, so we don't have to pause the contractor and then wait a couple weeks to come back here to get additional appropriation authority. It just, if something unforeseen comes up, it allows us to keep working kind of.
Yeah, no, I get it. And the time.
But it's not that we're going to spend it all. So
it's just like when I go bid to a customer, if I go to a customer and tell them that, like for my business and say, this wiring job's going to cost $20,000, and then they say, well, we're going to go ahead and budget, 25 for you just in case something comes up. I mean, especially with government work, it's like it always seems like that something just happens to come up. So I just would like to send a strong message to our contractors that we have a certain dollar amount that we're supposed to be sticking to, and we're not, that the council is just not going to freely just throw money at something just because of whatever. I just want that to be known.
Yeah, and what I would say to that too, though, is with our engineers, our staff, we know what these things cost too, and that's even why we're here, because when they came back to us with it for $164,000 and change, I can tell you, I said, and we talked to Clarkson too, there's no way we're going to, that number's too high. I'd rather go on time and material basis because I think it can be done for cheaper.
But you've only found a $10,000 cheaper option, though.
Yeah, but based on the mix. But the area was larger too when they initially found it, and then they started opening it up. There's actually a second area on Fermoy, just right north of the intersection there. So that's kind of an example of there could be more out there even still. So.
It makes me think, so a couple weeks ago, we had money in a pot, and then our bid came in for a lot less. So we said, well, hey, we have this extra money, let's use it. And there was a couple options put out to us to vote on to do with extra money. And the majority of the council approved to do that with that extra money. But now we've tied up that money, now we're having to ask for more, right?
Well, so there's different flavors of money on this too, and that money, for the bike lanes portion, that's actually a different pot of money that we can't use for the street repair. So we have to use it for bike and ped type uses.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So, Mike, these are street repairs. This isn't that we wanted to get a grant to do some fun stuff for the streets.
No.
These are street repairs, and if it's not compacted, we're going to get, worst case scenario, sinkholes, things like that, if it's not done properly. And they discovered some uncompacted soil when they were digging down.
Correct. And yeah, that grant term for SB1, that is a bit misleading, so I appreciate you bringing that up. To basically clarify SB1, that's the funding that the legislature approved when they raised the gas tax. So we call it SB1 grant funding, but it isn't truly a grant because there is an allocation that's made to every city and county. So
Non-competitive.
it's non-competitive. Thank you, Councilmember. Yes.
Councilmember,
I just have one point. Councilmember Sandu made a very good point about contingencies and what that looks like. What is the stand? It always bothers me that you hire a contractor to do a job and then there's all these unforeseen circumstances. Now, I'm not talking specifically about this one because I think it's important that we don't have sinkholes in our roadways. But isn't there, like when we go out to bid on a contract, isn't there a level that the contractor should be responsible for, knowing about roadway construction and things like that, that they would be financially responsible for, or is it just all contingency every time?
No, not necessarily. It depends on the specs. And I mean, if you look at the Caltrans spec book, I mean, it's probably 1.5 inches thick. So, I mean, they've, by now, through the decades, they've kind of learned, and they update it about every 4 or 5 years too. But it's not always contingency. But however, in this case, when it comes to the substrate, nobody knows what's underneath there. I mean, we take periodic samples from the geotech, and basically that's what we base. We think that it's fairly consistent. Sometimes in the valley here, and I can tell you in my former agency too, you get these clay lenses or organic soils and whatnot that are soft like this, and you just have to deal with them as you hit them. So it's a bit of it's a bit of randomness to it. So.
Okay. And we normally do, for road construction, we do a 10% contingency?
Typically 10% is a contingency, yes.
Okay.
If we know in advance, like if we were in an area where we knew we had these types of soils were prevalent, we would probably even ask for an additional higher contingency. But again, we didn't have that indication in the geotech info that we had. So,
if there's no other
No, go ahead. I thought you were done, Rich. Sorry.
No, I'm done. I'm prepared to make a motion.
I just want to make one last comment. So, just piggybacking on what he said. I just want to just because I'm a contractor, so I see this, and I see a lot of people coming in with low bid numbers, and then they just change order, and it comes to be more expensive than the other people. I, for one, I don't remember ever coming to the customer, ever in 20 years I've been in business, ever coming in and saying, well, we ran into this problem. I mean, we have to accept certain things. Now, if they come back and ask for stuff, it's different. But I know this is common with government. It's a different animal than private industry. I get it. But I want to send a message to the contractors out there that might be listening to this, that we're going to do business in the future, that this council is not going to just be throwing money at something, just whatever. If they run out, if they, come with stuff, we're going to be analyzing, looking closely at additional costs, because we are in a budget crunch. And even though this is not general fund money, I still want to create a habit of being fiscally responsible. And so I just want to put that out there to them that are listening. So
absolutely. And I can tell you as staff, we wholeheartedly agree and back that.
all right, thank you. Councilmember Zana, did you want to make your motion?
I move staff's recommendation to adopt a resolution authorizing an additional $100,000 project contingency for the 2019 Street and Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project Capital Improvement Program, number 571.
I'll second. Whoever you want. All right, roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Sandu.
Aye.
Councilmember Campion.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Next up is award of contracts for the firing range block wall extension project. I asked Mark Clarkson to be here to answer some questions and Shall I have him talk about it first? Do you guys have Mr. Clarkson? Or, sorry, Mr. Selling, would you like to call Mr. Clarkson up?
Okay, I can probably just preface it, and then Mr. Clarkson can elaborate if needed. So essentially, this is the project to extend the firing range block wall to the west. We have an agreement with the CDCR, and we took bids in. We got 4 bids. The low bid was $109,000. I think the engineer's estimate was around $130,000. I think we had $150,000 or so in the CIP budget.
Right. So
with that, I and Mr. Clarkson are available to answer any questions.
So this is, I wanted him to explain, this is something that we rent out, and we make a little money off of it. And why do we need to extend this wall?
Absolutely. We have a lease agreement with the CDCR to rent the gun range, and they rent it for about $250,000 a year right now, $250,000. That money goes into 08 fund under the police department range, and it's used to pay for expenses. Right now there's a debt against it that we have to pay off the debt. When we extend this block wall, we'll get an additional $50,000 a year for that, so they can use rifles or do a few other things out there. The original, and I just want to back up almost a year, back in December 4th council meeting, we presented this project at $130,000 was allocated at that time, approved by council to do this work, but we didn't have the lease agreement approved yet. We were still moving through that portion. During that time, the council gave authority to the city manager to complete the lease agreement with CDCR. So once that was done, we re-estimated it, and we came in on our CIP project our CIP numbers that came before the council back in June, and as $150,000. And that's where we're about right now. For total project, meaning not just construction, but the soils and the inspection and that stuff. So we're right on target with what we expected.
Great. All right, I believe there's some questions. Vice Mayor Farmer?
So I remember approving that 130. So you're saying time has passed, so now it's like 150 is what we're looking at the project, right?
Well, the construction, we don't want to get confused of what construction is versus the whole project cost.
Okay.
And the construction is 110. It's right about where we estimated the construction. But when you looked at the whole project back, not knowing all the conditions of the CDCR, the lease agreement, I had estimated at that time about 130 for the whole project. And then back after it was finally executed, I looked at the specifications. I met with the CDCR chief, and we talked about what had to happen out there. And so I redid my estimate at 150 for the whole project. And then we came back to council with the CIP budget that was approved back in June, and it was in there.
So the money from this grant, the renting of this range is good for the city. It's a good deal for us. I know that. Explain to me a little more. So the 08 fund, the money from the money from that lease goes into the 08 fund, and what is the 08 money used for?
The enterprise fund was set up a couple of years ago to track this debt that was used for the range, and it was intentional to be used for the facility itself, for the gun range facility, any improvements and maintenance needed on it. And there was a I don't remember the exact amount, but it was a little over $1 million debt on this to build the range. And so every year we use the lease money that we get from the CDCR and other agencies that utilize, that paid for the use of our ranges to pay down this debt. And it's an 08 enterprise fund.
So the money that would be used to extend the block wall comes from the 08. The money and revenue made on the fire range goes back into the 08.
Correct.
Okay. So what I think is, I just was going to bring this up, but so basically we're asking for $109,000 to finish the wall. By the way, just before I move on, how many firing lanes does that add, the extension of the wall?
It allows them to use the west range with higher powered rifles. They can only use two of the runs with high power and pistols, but then they can go into this one right now just with pistols.
Okay. So So we have a lease currently with, and I know the gentleman who was part of that negotiation, so him and I have talked about that. But so we have the lease for $250,000. In the third year of the lease, it'll go to $300,000, but it won't go to, it'll stay at $250,000 unless we have that. We have to finish by December of this year in order to get that additional $50,000 for next year. But what I think is kind of funny is, but you're asking us for $109,000 plus a contingency of $10,900. So basically, it's $120,000. So we're going to spend $120,000 to improve our thing, just so we can make an extra $50,000 on our lease next year. So I mean, economically, it just seems funny.
Year in, this contract is a multi-year lease,
Yeah.
and so it's year in and year out. So within 2 years, it pays back for this.
Okay, so
And
why
then
does
as
it
the
not
lease
say that
continues-
it's
I believe it was a
2020?
five-year lease. The last time I don't have the lease in front of me.
So it doesn't end. So we're not looking to renew a lease after 2020 because it doesn't state that.
No, the lease
It's-
goes past.
The lease goes past 2020.
The lease goes past us.
So
And
starting in 2020 goes to 300.
300,
For the
yeah.
additional, okay.
Every year that it's available, we'll get
Okay.
300 versus 2.
I was just understanding by the way the staff report written, because it doesn't say that, is that we basically then would have to go out and renegotiate a lease. And for me, not having that locked-in money to reimburse and then
Right.
go into the profit. So that changes a lot of what I was just going to, okay. Then, yeah, I don't have any other questions, and thank you.
I have one very short question. One thing, I do understand 50 year each year, so if we increase 5 years, it's $250,000 we can get. That's a good thing. The other thing is when your department asks $133,000, that time you guys review very good, we need 133. And now you increasing to 150. What makes really is cost, because the construction costs go up last year to this year, I do understand. And what was the main reason why it's go from 133 to 150? And you have a lot of experience.
It was a best guess when the terms of the lease was not yet done. So when we came before the council back in December, it was around $130,000 we thought for the project. And then after reviewing the lease and reviewing if, we've got springtime now coming up, we're getting new bids coming out that we can go out and review. So we came up and we put it in the CIP at 150, the project, anticipating it. Right now, we're at about 133, so it's all an estimate. What we want to do is make sure we don't underestimate and cut ourselves, have to come back here and ask for more money. We're not asking for more money here. The CIP was approved at 150. We're just asking for this project to go forward for the contract at about 110. And then we have some incidental costs after that, plus a contingency.
The other thing is, I think you want to be finished on their deadline so we can get that $50,000 on that.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I think, maybe, and one thing I think that Clarkson communicated to me is originally I think the thought was we only needed to extend the wall about 25 feet.
Right.
But it was actually, once the terms and whatnot came back, we actually had to extend it 40 feet. So there's an additional 15 feet.
So that's how the terms affected the price.
Yeah, and that's part of, yeah.
Because I'm looking at the packet from December 4th, and it clearly said that we had bids. So you were basing that price of 130 on a certain amount of extension, but now because
Right.
the people that are renting it say we need this, and so that's what varied it. Okay.
Correct.
Well, that makes
It's a
sense.
ballistic wall, and it has to be
Right.
able to stop the
Yeah, I know what it is.
rifle
I'm
bullets
just,
and all that.
It was, I did at that time, at the December 4th, I did think that, and I think I made a comment, that it could be a 40-foot, a 40-foot wall. Just wasn't sure.
it actually
So-
does say 40 foot in here.
Yeah, and then, but as we went into it, we saw that we had to build a bigger berm than what they just wanted, and for more blocking, a couple other things. So we're there. We'll get it done
Finally.
before
Been a while.
December 31st. Yeah.
I also saw there was concerns from the contractor in here that said that they can only do the work on the weekends. Is that because of the use of the range during the week?
Right.
And the way they worded their questions, there was questions from the bids. They were saying it was kind of worded in a way that they were concerned about having enough weekends to finish before the
Right.
end of the year. And you guys were stating, so do you foresee a problem with that? And if for some reason there is a delay in construction, what's our recourse with that? Are we going to lose money? Is there going to be like an adjustment or what do you call it?
liquidated damages is what you're referring to, I think?
Yeah, like
Basically
if
a
we
penalty
go into the
for
first of the
taking
year,
longer?
it's not done.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, you can always have, weather delays kind of thing. So I think when the contractor's asking those kinds of questions, they're determining as to, do I need to consider double shifting maybe for on the weekends or whatnot, that kind of thing. The other thing too is I think there may be some flexibility in CDCR's schedule that they might be able to pick up a few days here and there. Is that
Yeah, and that's what intended to do with the CDCR. We talked with them. We just put it in the specs that it was weekend only, and that locked it in the specs. But now as we go back, we've already contacted the CDCR. We're getting a schedule from them of when it's opening, because in between September and October, their class closes, ends, and then they start a new class, and there's several weeks in there that are usually open. So we're going to be racing on that. Contractor knows, but we couldn't bid it because we didn't know when the bids are going to be approved. We couldn't put it in our specs. We didn't know when the bids were going to be approved and if we were going to build this year at all.
I just brought it up because it kind of reeks of the kind of thing where you're like, yeah, we need to get it done in a certain time frame. Then they say, okay, and there's a dollar amount agreed upon. And then they come back like, December, Christmas saying, you know what, we've had bad weather. We didn't foresee that. We didn't foresee, soft soil or whatever. And now we're going to need more money from you guys in order to finish it on time. And then you're going to come back to us. I just thinking of that ahead.
And we have to agree to that. They don't get to unilaterally say that, so.
Okay.
And if we don't agree, they can file a claim, and there's a whole claim process, but, yeah.
Good to know. Everybody all right?
Ready for a motion?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clarkson. Can I get a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with McFadden Construction Incorporated in an amount of $109,042 for the construction of the firing range block wall extension project, capital improvement project, number 421A. Number 2, authorizing a 10% construction contingency amount of $10,904. 3, authorizing the Public Works Director to execute contract change orders within the approved project contingency. And 4, authorizing the Public Works Director to accept the improvements and issue the notice of completion upon satisfactory completion of the work.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Campion. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor Farmer. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Farmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Sandu.
Aye.
Councilmember Campion.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Mayor Lamson.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Didn't tell me about any communication. Do you have any city clerks?
Nothing.
Okay. And comments by staff? How are you doing, Ms. Tyson?
Great. Nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Selling?
Yeah, I just want to say I was able to come out for the military convoy on Friday, and it was great to see the support, and great talking to some of those guys. They had been on the road for 35 days by the time they got here, so at that slow speed in those old vehicles with no air conditioning, so my hat was off to them. And then obviously the sesquicentennial on Saturday, attended that in the morning, and it was an incredible event. I was very, very glad to have been able to participate in that. So hats off to the chamber and Vice Mayor Farmer and all the others who I think worked probably double or triple overtime, making it the success that it was. So thank you.
Absolutely. And staff took the costume requirement seriously, I saw. Mr. Reyes?
Yeah, I'd like to echo Mr. Selling's sentiment. I did attend the 150th birthday. I can't say that word. So it was really well attended in the morning. It was great to see so many people there, and the Galt Chamber and Councilman Farmer did a great job at planning that event. So it was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Ms. Lopez, how are the parks?
Great. We're taking basketball registration now.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Chief, you've been awfully quiet this meeting.
The sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial.
Well, was amazing. It was a great turnout, and it was a fun and safe event for all. And the organizers, everybody that put all the effort into it, was paid off. A lot of great comments internally, even within my own staff, about how much fun they had. And so I just think it was a fantastic event. And so I don't know, I'll be here for the 200-year celebration, but this one I'm really, really happy I was here for.
I wonder what the 175-year celebration will be called. We could do that. Ms. Hood?
I have nothing further. Thank you.
All right, comments by council members. Councilmember Campion?
No, it was a great event. Had a good time. Started getting a little warm, but towards the afternoon. That's all I have.
It really did. Councilmember Lozano, I didn't see much of you because I think you were busy.
I was a little busy. I want to thank the group for allowing me to play John McFarlane. I learned a lot, talked to a lot of people about their family history here in town, and it was interesting. It was fun. My daughter asked how it went, and I said, well, I think my performance was okay, but I don't think they're going to be asking me to perform anymore or on a sitcom or anything like that. But it was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then yet another busy week coming. We have Farm to Fork Saturday, and then this week, personally, I'm meeting with a constituent every single night this week. And so just getting feedback from the community is interesting and fun. So we'll continue to do that. That's it.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Farmer?
So first off, the military Lincoln Highway thing was really cool, and I see he gave out some patches and stuff. But yes, those guys just, I mean, to drive in those vehicles all across the United States, and the stories that they were telling us about, you know, where they had been and things they have done, and you know, wrenching on their vehicles in the middle of places, because these are, you know, 70, 80-year-old vehicles. But the one gentleman just stood out to me. He had a water bottle strapped to the grill, and I said, what's with the water bottle strapped to the grill? And he said, well, that's water from it was basically like this. He said, this is water from the Atlantic Ocean, and when we get to the Pacific Ocean, we're going to dump it in the Pacific Ocean. So it's just epic stuff. So it was really cool, and glad we were able to, you know, accommodate them coming through. Sesquicentennial, obviously, I was very pleased with it. It was a lot of work by the chamber, a lot of work by just like plethora of people. I mean, just so many people. But it's impossible to name all those people. So, but I just want they all know who they are. So it was very stressful, but I think it went off well, and I think the feedback was good. I appreciate everybody dressing up who came in costume, because I think the pressure was, you know, Chris came to me and goes, is Mike really going to dress up? I go, that's the word. Well, now I'm going to have to get a costume. So it's like started becoming contagious, but it made the event more special. I mean, there was comments made to me that people said that, you know, they felt they were immersed in that era and stuff because of the dressing up and all that, and it was great to have our dignitaries there. I want to thank Chris for stepping in on Tom's behalf to you know, make those people feel welcomed, and we had some very notable dignitaries visit. I was glad to see all the council there for the ceremony, and some of our past council members and mayors were there, and it was good. It was hot in the afternoon, but I think it went off very well. You know, we had some impromptu gunfights happening in the street, but PD was there, and strong presence was felt, so nobody was really alarmed or scared. I got arrested. I did.
And you need to clarify that we were not involved in any way.
So I got arrested, and they read me some rights, and it was the money goes to charity. It was really fun, and so some of our reenactors actually came to me and said that after the event, they said that they had such a good time that they offered to come back for free if we ever wanted them to come back. So it was good.
Wow.
And so, but really, you know, just one last thing is that this wouldn't have been possible because obviously the city, you know, the chamber had to step up with Volunteers for the Historical Society and everybody else to do this. But if it was not for the people of the community, you know, we had a ton of sponsors, and people gave thousands of dollars. You know, we had dairies that were giving $1,000, $1,500. We had local citizens giving $150, just, you know, $100 just to sponsor whatever. And if it wasn't for all those people, this would not have happened. We were literally just rubbing two nickels together right at the end of this whole thing to make it pencil out. And I'm not even sure that it did pencil out. I think the chamber might have went in the red a little bit on it, but it was great. And again, thank the community for all their support. And this was a community event funded by the community, so it was a win-win. And I want to just thank everybody. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Sandhu?
Yeah, same thing like in last weekend, I joined with that event, 150-year birthday celebration. It was a huge success on that. And especially, I like to thank you, the chamber, all the voluntary, all the vendors, and all the people they helped to organize this event. And I special thank you, Vice Mayor, because he spent a lot of time on this event. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to say, I really enjoyed the convoy. When they were coming through, they had some big giant trucks, and I'm like, yeah, what's in those? I'm curious. So they took me inside. Those were motorhomes with showers and queen-size beds. But then some of the guys slept in those little pickup trucks where I think if you move, you bump your head while you're sleeping. So they had a little bit of difference on the people involved. And thank you, Chamber, for stepping up and feeding them. They just raved about the food and how wonderful that was. And also, the sesquicentennial was phenomenal. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for not turning the street to dirt, because I know you would have done that if you could. So just everybody involved, and especially the Chamber just stepping up and doing that. And if we want to have a 175-year, it is called Turquoise Quincentennial. Turquoise Quincentennial. So most of us will still be around for that. So. Start practicing now. It took me a while to learn sesquicentennial.
Hey, you know what? I forgot to thank Public Works, and I know Marnda's not here, but thank you to Public Works for, getting everything in place on time. We didn't have any issues with any of them. And Armando did a great job. I was out there like totally micromanaging them, weed eating, and making sure they didn't miss a single weed in the sidewalk or whatever. But they were really good. Guys were coming up saying, "Hey, does this look great? Okay, good." And they were out there in force, taking care of all the area to make sure it was appropriate. It looked good for that. So thank you to all the staff that had anything to do with this.
So I wanted to finish by thanking the staff and the city and Tina that showed up working city booths and police booth. It was great to see everybody out there, and Chris, and for working with. Did you work the booth, Mike? I wasn't out there at that time. So just a great small town feel for our growing town, and I think everyone had a fabulous time, and look forward to more. Meeting adjourned.
Mike's got some drone footage. I'm looking forward to seeing some.